Well, it is Friday afternoon, and we are joined by Kelly O'Dwyer, representing the seat of Higgins in the Liberal Party. Kelly, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom.
And her sparring partner this afternoon, Richard Miles, the member for Corio and Shadow Minister for Immigration. Richard, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Tom.
Are you just immigration or immigration and trade?
No, it's immigration and border protection.
And border protection. Well, we're going to speak about, we've got 100 days without any boat arrivals, but firstly, I see that there was an attempted vote of no confidence in the Speaker yesterday, Bronwyn Bishop. Tony Burke said that she was the most biased Speaker, I think, in the history of the Australian Parliament. He commented on the fact she's kicked out something like 98 or 99 Labor MPs in a row for bad behaviour. So, you first, Richard. Is Bronwyn Bishop biased, or are people of the Labor Party just badly behaved?
Bronwyn Bishop is biased. If we were seeing a football game where the free kick count went 99 zip, the followers of the other team would be jumping the fence and going onto the field. I mean, and I think anybody who really... Look, behaviour in the Parliament isn't great. I'll say that up front, on both sides. But anyone who really believes that the scoreline on that behaviour is 99-0, well, I mean, it doesn't pass the credibility test. And I think the issue here is that Parliament is a very important institution, and that the government has decided to have somebody who is as biased as Bronwyn in this role, I think says everything about the way they see Parliament. I mean, sometimes governments get it wrong, you know, and it's important that Parliament's a place where you can hear that.
All right, Kelly O'Dwyer, Richard has said that the Speaker is biased.
Well, it's not going to be a surprise, Tom, for you or your listeners to know that I don't think she is biased, and I think actually a pretty disgraceful campaign has been waged against Bronwyn Bishop as Speaker from day one.
Really?
We saw the opposition manager of business in the House, Tony Burke, likening her to a figure from Hogwarts on day one. We saw disruption of the
from
House.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, from Harry Potter. And really, you know, that was a pretty disgraceful description of the Speaker. It was not respectful, and that was the tone that they set from day one. Now, if you actually consider the number of people who've been thrown out of the Parliament, 5 of your colleagues account for just under 50% of those people who've been thrown out.
I did know that Christopher Pyne was rather upset because he felt that he'd been thrown out more than anybody else. Is it a competition?
Well, in the previous Parliament, under the previous Labor government and their various different speakers, I think, you know, 90% of the people who were thrown out there were members of the opposition.
Is Bronwyn Bishop, is she formidable? I mean, does she come across as a type of iron lady?
She is formidable, but that is because she is wanting to preserve the Parliament as the battle place of ideas. She wants to ensure that there is respect in the Parliament. I was very fortunate to have Bronwyn Bishop come out to my electorate just recently and be the Speaker in a mock Parliament that we held with the Camberwell Primary School.
And I've got to say, did she kick them out?
She didn't, because they were a lot more respectful than members of the Labor Party.
So Richard,
but I mean, that's all well and good, Kelly, but not for a moment are you seriously suggesting that behaviour is... That the issues of behaviour sit on one side of the House.
No, what I'm saying is that there is a campaign, Richard, that has deliberately been waged to try and cause disruption. And you only need to look to the fact that Tony Burke had a pre-prepared speech that he walked in and read off in the Parliament.
He didn't read it off.
Well, he did.
Everyone has notes, and it's been an issue which has been worrying us for some time, which is why he's got notes. But the fact of the matter is, she is going about her business in a way which is seeking to promote one party in the Parliament. Now, I think every speaker comes from a party, and obviously they bring to bear their history in relation to that. But I also think that every speaker in the past has tried their best to be above the political fray because they know how important the Parliament is.
And so has Bronwyn Bishop.
She just hasn't. She's been an instrument of the party.
Let's go to a couple of calls. Lucille, hello.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I've got a statement. Bronwyn Bishop is just doing her job. If the opposition behaved themselves and acted like civilised adults, they wouldn't be sent to the sin bin.
You're quite right, Lucille. Quite right.
When you get kicked out, how long are you typically kicked out for?
Usually it's an hour. But if you do something really wrong, like Mark Dreyfus did, the member for Isaacs, it's 24 hours.
So let's be clear. What Mark Dreyfus did, which was really wrong, was refer to her as Madam Speaker.
After she had told him not to interject.
He called her Madam Speaker, which is actually, by the way, what you do call her, Madam Speaker.
But he spoke after she had warned him.
She didn't like the tone.
No. he spoke after she had warned him.
Yeah, it's not right,
and
because there actually wasn't a warning. There wasn't a warning. This is the point. There actually wasn't a warning in that situation. She went straight to naming him, which is the
well,
highest thing
he's the second highest person who's been thrown out on your colleagues. I mean, something like 12 times. I think he has a bit of a record.
It does sound like Dr. Evil in one of the Austin Powers films. He goes, shh, 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 .com, shh. Call's coming up. It's 18 to 5. It is 4:45. Chris, good afternoon.
G'day, Tom. First thing, comment, I hope you replayed that last 30 seconds of their argument. They sound like a group of 5-year-olds fighting over the front seat.
Thank you.
Second thing is, what do they gain by kicking her out? Like, does it change the balance of power in any way, or?
No, it wouldn't. The only thing that would change is, I guess, each speaker probably brings a different dynamic, for want of a better word, to the way the parliament functions. There's no risk, Kelly, that Bronwyn Bishop is going to be kicked out as Speaker, is there?
Absolutely not. That vote was a vote of confidence in the Speaker, and it was won by a substantial majority. Even the independents, can I say, apart from the Greens member who voted with the opposition, which is not a great surprise, they actually voted with the government.
Bob, good afternoon.
Thank you for taking my call. The whole situation is, I saw on news last night from one of the top political reporters, and he said, and I quote, that Julia Bishop attends Liberal Party meetings. She is supposed to be neutral.
Sure, you mean Bronwyn Bishop?
Sorry, Bronwyn Bishop attends the Liberal Party meeting. She goes there. She is supposed to be neutral. She should not attend.
Thank you, Bob. Is that true, Kelly? Is the Speaker supposed to attend the party room, for example?
Each Speaker makes their own decision about this. Harry Jenkins didn't when he was Speaker. Bronwyn Bishop has said that she would attend the meetings because, of course, she is also a Member of Parliament and she represents a constituency. So she does attend those meetings. But that does not cast any aspersion over her independence in the role as Speaker.
All right, now let's move on. We're just about to hit 100 days with no boats full of asylum seekers having arrived on Australian shores. Now, Richard Marles, you are the Shadow Minister for Immigration and Border Protection. Is this a day we should be celebrating?
Seeing less people lose their lives at sea is unequivocally a good thing.
Yes.
And that is absolutely the view of the Labor Party and Labor in opposition.
So it's been successful?
Well, I think
Turnbacks is successful.
Well, if we're going to speak plainly and think about why it is that we've got to this position, far and away the majority reason is because of the PNG arrangement, which we put in place. Well, it is, because if you look at the flow of boats, 90% of them, there was 90%
You're only
reduction.
counting 2 weeks.
No, it's not.
2 weeks.
Actually not right. If you look from the time of the 19th of July through until the election, you see a 90% reduction, and that's actually why.
Look at the 3 months. That was 400 boats on average a week.
That's why
400 arrivals,
your government has continued with the PNG arrangement. It's actually why it's very important that the government pay proper due to it and not drop the ball, which is actually what we've seen up until the crisis that occurred on Manus Island. But the PNG arrangement was utterly fundamental to where we're at the moment. In terms of turning back the boats,
do you agree with that? Do you think
the
that's
issue about
working?
turning back the boats is the Australian public aren't sure about exactly what's going on in the high seas, because there is an operational.
Well, you do. You know, you've been briefed.
Yeah, but the issue here is
You could tell us, Richard.
Well, I can't. That's the problem.
Well, no, but you can say if you believe it's working.
Well, I can't go into the question of what's going on.
No,
by law,
but you can say if you believe it's working.
Well, my issues are this. What is the long-term, what does it do to the long-term relationship with Indonesia in circumstances where they don't want this to happen?
Well, you're not answering the question.
No, I am, because the issue about turning back the boats is that Indonesia don't want it, and it's not just about having no boats come now, it's about having no boats come on a sustainable basis.
But you say Indonesia doesn't want it. I mean, it is corrupt Indonesians who facilitate the people smuggling trade. I mean, I don't really understand why we should be so worried about what the Indonesians
well, I think, it's a big call, and I'm sure you're not making exactly that call, but...
I am.
Well, if you're talking about the Indonesian government...
No, corrupt Indonesian people and members of the military.
Okay, but if we're talking about the Indonesian government, good people who are doing great things in terms of improving democracy in Indonesia, those people do not support the policy of turning back the boats. Now, my point about that is simply...
But do you support it?
We are going to have this sustainable in the long term, a cooperative relationship with Indonesia. my concern is there. And my second concern is about safety at sea, and we've got to make sure that that is the situation there. So,
well, Gillian Triggs, who is the president of the Human Rights Commission, she has acknowledged that turnbacks has been successful because no lives have been lost at sea. And that's what we're talking about. That's what you acknowledged in your opening statement,
I acknowledge
Richard.
that no lives have been lost at sea, and that's a good thing.
And we had
but
more
Gillian
than 1,000 lives lost at sea under your policy, which is devastating.
Actually, if we're going to talk about the last few years, the single
50,000 people arrived, 8,000 children, 1,000 children in detention. This is a terrible, terrible record of which you should be very ashamed.
Well, the single biggest policy failure during that term of government was our inability to put the Malaysian, the appropriate legislation through the Parliament, which would have allowed the arrangement with Malaysia. Now, that was because of a coalition between the Liberals and the Greens, which prevented that. Had we done that, well, it's true.
Is it a Liberal Green coalition?
On that issue, Tom, there absolutely was. The Liberals and the coalition and the Greens voted together. I know you don't want to hear this, but voted together to stop Malaysia happening. Had that occurred, we would have seen a reduction in the boats much earlier.
Well, Richard, you were in government with the Greens.
Let's just take a quick call. Chris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, guys there. Look, I don't know how you can defend anything about safety and turning back the boats. First of all, as far as safety goes, they put them in life boats. They're as safe as they come. So that's to start with. Illegal aliens aren't landing on this shoreline when there's thousands upon thousands queuing up to do it properly. How
thank
can
you, Chris.
defend it?
No, thank you, Chris. I haven't heard the phrase illegal aliens for quite a while. We better leave it there. It's been entertaining as always. Kelly O'Dwyer, Richard Miles. We'll talk to you again in a fortnight's time.
Terrific. Look forward to it.
It is 8 to 5.